it's strange for me to stand before a whole bunch of folk who are committed to Lambda Legal and not just express to you that I am indebted to you for continuing a tradition that if it was but for the tradition of the folks here in this room, I would not be standing before you right now. I am the product of legal activism, of people who broke down doors for me, of lawyers, many of them volunteer lawyers, who took on civil rights cases, who took on housing rights cases, who took on employment rights cases. As an African American, you know that you stand on a tradition of Charles Hamilton Houston, of Thurgood Marshall, of so many lawyers who stood for you, who fought for you, and who at times fell for you. I mean, if you even take the town I grew up in, my parents tried to move in 1969, and they would not show black families homes in this section of New Jersey, Bergen County, most of the towns. And they literally had to find the Fair Housing Council, and they got a test couple and a group of lawyers that were setting up sting operations. And my parents, on the house that I grew up in, they were told it was sold. The white couple found out it was still for sale. And on the day of the closing, the white couple did not show up. My father and a volunteer lawyer named Marty Friedman showed up. And I'll tell you this, that this amazing man, Marty, stood and he might have practiced his speech for like hours in the bathroom mirror before he got to the moment, and he started saying his speech to the real estate agent about him being in violation of the law. And the real estate agent stood up and punched Marty Friedman in the face and sigged a dog on my dad. Now, I tell you, every time my dad tells the story, the dog got bigger. But I grew up in a household, by the time I was 18 years old, and had a considerable 18-year-old swagger. My father would look at me and say, "Boy, don't you dare walk around this house like you hit a triple. You were born on third base. And you owe a debt that you cannot pay back. You have only one choice: to try your best to prove worthy of it and pay that debt forward." And so here I stand in front of a whole lot of folk who understand the historical truth. The longest filibuster in Senate history is not Ted Cruz and green eggs and ham. It was a racist rant by Strom Thurmond. And so the civil rights that I enjoy didn't happen because a bunch of senators got together and said, "Yeah, you know what? It's time. Let's give them their rights." No, it happened because of the truth about Washington is that change does not come from Washington. It comes to Washington. Well, Washington better wake up, because Lambda Legal has come to Washington. And so I want to go and stamp this award a bunch of times and hand it out to everybody in this room for making it possible. But I want to tell you right now that it is unfortunate that this organization needs to even exist. And in many ways, we are in a time where we should be cheering and patting each other back and hugging each other, but we are at a time of crisis. Now, I'm so grateful that when this session was open, we marked a horrific shooting yesterday that was evil, despicable. And I sat in my office and watched, every time I came in, 24-hour coverage of a horrific shooting. And that's the way it should be. We should condemn hate and violence. But we are sitting here right now, after a year in which more than 20 transgender women were murdered, and it didn't make CNN? It didn't make MSNBC? Y'all know it didn't make Fox. People being murdered, and we go on as a society and don't notice and don't condemn it and don't understand that just like the shooting yesterday and the prayers and the sorrow and the hurt and the anguish, that those Americans are just as American as a congressperson or a senator, have just as much dignity as those who got shot yesterday. And so I just want to do something, then I'll get back to my remarks, but I just want to do something right now, because we're not here for an award to a politician. That's not why we're here. Do y'all know this is a fundraiser? So I'm going to do something you've never seen a senator do at a fundraiser before. If I can get 10 people to match me right now, I will give a $1,000 check to Lambda. $1,000. Hold on, stop applauding. Will anybody match me with another $1,000? Any, 1, 2, 3, 4, come on. 5, 6 in the back, 7. Somebody should be, I can't keep track of these people. Keep holding your hands up. The forms are on your seat. Keep holding your hands up. I got 8, 9. I said one more, 10. Well, you can't give. I need one more after the. You 10,000. And I yes. Grab the form underneath you. Please grab the form. If you raise your hand, please grab the form underneath you. You said you got to get to 30. That should not be hard, given the urgency of the cause. What has happened in this last year to literally have you, I'm thinking of Ralph Ellison right now, to be rendered invisible, ripped from a website as if you do not exist? What's happened in the last year when children who deserve to have the National Guard brought in, like Ruby did, to protect your dignity and your rights. But the Justice Department says, no, we're not. We're backing up. When the Department of Education, in their Justice Division, says, no, we're not going to defend you. What has happened in the last year? Where states are putting forward, this year alone, over 100 bills targeting 29 states, targeting the rights of Americans, singling them out, LGBTQ Americans. What's happening in this country where violence, the most common hate crime in America, as we've seen it going up against Muslim Americans and Sikh Americans, hate crimes on the rise, but the number one targets of hate crimes in America are LGBTQ Americans. 40% of our homeless youth, gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgender children. King said it. I'm sorry. This is why I had to pause and ask for us of good conscience. In a time that Bull Connor and governors' lips were dripping with hatred and rage, King wrote that what we will have to repent for in our day and age, it's not just the vitriolic words and violent actions of the bad people, but the appalling silence and inaction of the good people, us. people are rendered, the most dangerous thing is to render you into silence. Take away your voice to make you feel like you're alone. I was a 19-year-old kid sitting on a phone in a helpline and began at Stanford's campus hearing calls from people who felt so alone and so isolated, so fearful. Suicide rates. We still live in a country where you and I, many of us enjoy rights, like just to be able to walk down a street and hold hands with the person you love, that we still live in a country where that is dangerous to do in so many jurisdictions. And so I'm grateful for an award, but I'm telling you right now, we have work to do. Work to do. Sacrifice and struggle and courage and commitment and fighting. I tell people all the time, this nation demands it from us. Patriotism, which is love of country. You can't love your country if you don't love your countrymen and women. And love, it is not a being verb. It's not a sit back on your couch verb. It's not about wondering what's wrong or getting on your knees to pray word. To paraphrase Frederick Douglass, I prayed for years for my freedom, but I was still a slave. It wasn't until I started praying with my hands and my feet that I found my salvation. And the legislation that I've been able to sponsor or co-sponsor, we shouldn't be applauding those who don't. It's nice to get a pat on the back for affirming the dignity of other people. That's seriously now. For standing by a law that says that you can't in your state, like most of them now, get fired just because you're gay, be denied housing like my family was, just because of who you are. No, we should make there be consequences for the people that aren't on the bill. Yeah, and so those consequences have to come when we protest, when we march, and when we use the law. And so I just want to let you all know the sense that we all have to gear up from tonight. And I am so encouraged by this packed room. I'm so encouraged by the presence of soldiers for the fight for freedom who understand what love's demand is. And if you're not hurting, if this country has not broken your heart, you are not loving her enough. If you have time, go to the Jefferson Memorial tonight. The founders didn't have me and many of you in mind. But at a time when Native Americans were called savages in the Declaration of Independence, where women weren't mentioned at all, at a time that blacks were fractions of human beings, remember what Stokely Carmichael used to always say, constitute. I can only say 3/5 of the word. Our founders still had a genius to know that this nation was not founded because we all look alike, because we all pray alike, because we all identify alike. They knew that this country was like none other. It wasn't founded because we all descended from the same family tree. It was founded in a different way. The oldest constitutional democracy, the law of the land, that what was going to bind us together if we were going to be a nation of ideals, principles, and laws. They would not be just protected by the paper and the documents that this organization will use to affirm and to fight, but there had to be something deeper. It had to be an unusual and extraordinary commitment we had to one another. That's why if you go to the memorial tonight and look at those words, in the Declaration of Independence, it is a declaration of interdependence. It is a declaration of love. Because it says exactly what love demands. It says we, if this country is going to work, must mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. And so I take you back to who I am as a Black American. My parents were so pointed. They wanted me to know I'm not here because folks fought for Black rights. They sacrificed and suffered. They died together like Goodman and Cheney and Schwerner, people of different races and different backgrounds. Heroes and artists, gay and straight, from Baez to Baldwin. I'm here because people fought for justice, and that's what my fight has to be. That's what our fight has to be. And this road, this long road to freedom, we gotta keep marching. Hear the echoes of our ancestors, the calls that was brought to song. Before I'll be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave. It's a defiance that says, Ella's song was sung that I may be weary, I may be tired, but I'm gonna keep on working, I'm gonna keep on fighting. We who believe in freedom, the song says, cannot rest. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it's won. It's a song sung by marchers who came to this capital armed with the law and love, the law and love, the law and love, who sang the song. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. I'm gonna keep on walking. I'm gonna keep on marching into freedom land. Why are we here tonight? Because we are armed again in a time of vicious oppression, in a time that our brothers and sisters in quiet corners of our country are being murdered, abused, robbed of their rights. We are here again with love and the law. Love and the law. Demanding that this country, for once and for all, live up to the civic gospel. I always say, before you tell me about your religion, show it to me in how you treat other people. And our civic gospel, which we swear an oath to, that we'll be a country of liberty and justice for all. And so I pull from the 1960s to call on everyone here with your sacred honor, with your resources and your life, to reaffirm with an oath, like Langston Hughes called us to do, that this country will once and for all in our lifetime live up to the words we hail and we sing and we pledge. And let me take some liberties with Baldwin, with Langston Hughes' poem, as I recite the end. Oh, let America be America again, the land that never has been yet, but yet must be. The land where everyone is free, the poor man, the Indian, the Negro, and the LGBT. Who made America? Who made America? Whose sweat and blood, whose faith and pain, whose hand at the foundry and plow in the rain must make our mighty dream live again. Oh, yes, I say it plain. America never was America to me, but I swear this oath, America will be. Tonight, let's not leave here until we swear an oath, not with our hearts, but with our hands. Not with our hand on our chest, but our hand outstretched. Let's swear the oath. Let's prove worthy of the sacrifices and struggles and the shoulders upon which we stand. Let's swear an oath and fight the fight and support the organizations and the people who are on the front lines, in the trenches. Let us swear that oath. And if we swear together in a chorus of conviction, I promise you, justice will roll down like water and righteousness like a mighty stream. Thank you, everyone.